Welkom bij de podcast De Instrumentenkamer, live vanuit TivoliVredenburg in Utrecht tijdens de Nacht van de Viool. In deze korte serie Fiddle Talks spreek ik, Guido van Oorschot, met violisten over hun viool, het repertoire en hun carrière. En tegenover mij aan tafel zit Anan Al-Kadamani. Welkom Anan.
Dank u wel.
En je hebt me gevraagd of wij het gesprek in het Engels kunnen doen. Daar voel je je iets comfortabeler in. So we will switch to English. You have already performed this night
Yes.
in a concert. What did you play?
Thanks first for the invitation, for the interview. I played in a trio with a double bass and a percussion, or like frame drums and a buka. We played a set of Arabic tunes as well as Ottoman, Turkish and Greek.
Arabic, Ottoman, Turkish and Greek.
Yeah.
And I understand that because I know your background. You have been born in Syria.
That's
and
true.
you started playing the violin in Damascus, isn't it? Yeah. As a little boy?
Actually, that was even before moving to Damascus, when I was still in my hometown in the south. As a little boy, I started the violin by my own. Because we were living in a little village, and the transportations were quite difficult to get to the city center or to go to the capital, to Damascus. So there was not really a violin teacher to teach me. So because I had a little background on playing piano, I could play some tunes by ear. And that's how I started.
Are you from a musical family, or was it pure coincidence that you...
No, only my uncle played a little bit of oud, but he's not really a musician. Like he just had it as a hobby.
And where did you find that piano?
That was back in Yemen, because I moved with my family when I was like a little kid to Yemen for 6 years. And there my parents probably discovered that I have some tendency to play music.
So they noticed our little boy has a nice ear for music, so they tried to find you a piano. And
exactly.
How old were you then?
I was probably 8 or 9, like between 8 and 9.
Yeah, and then you did play some piano, and then where did the violin pop up?
So when we came back to Syria, as I told you, it was a village. And there was no teacher to teach me. And I somehow really got touched by seeing a violin for the first time live performing in one of the very many concert halls in our town.
And was it Arabic music or Western music?
Honestly, I don't remember.
You don't remember, but just hearing and seeing the violin player, hearing the music, attracted your attention?
Very much.
Very much?
Yeah, I think that was the first time I see a solo performance. I remember that it was a solo, but I don't remember the music genre back then. The way that the performer looked, holding the violin on his shoulder, and the
then
way
you
that it's played.
Told your parents, I want to have a violin.
Yeah.
Was that the case? Yeah?
Exactly.
How did they react?
I insisted too much. And the reaction was that my 2 other sisters got the instruments, which was the oud and the violin. And I had to share the violin with my other sister, who gave up after a few months.
And then you thought, now the instrument is mine.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there it started. Yeah. And at a certain point you moved to Damascus. Was it because of the music lessons or?
No, actually. I moved to Damascus because of studying at the university. So after finishing the high school, I moved to Damascus, where I studied at the civil engineering.
So you did not have the plan originally to become a musician?
No.
You liked music, you played the piano and the violin, but you started to study for a civil engineer.
Yeah, that's true. I didn't plan to study music in the beginning, so I went to the civil engineering because it was also a safe choice, if you want.
So being an artist, music, how can you earn a living as a civil
especially in such
engineer?
country.
That's
Yeah.
that kind of safety, you mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So music meant to be like a main hobby. But after a few years, I gave up in the civil engineering. Not really gave up, but like I didn't like the study. So I went totally to music. And then I applied to go to the conservatory in Damascus. And that's where I got, or like in that time, I got the first violin lessons, if I may say.
Yeah. And was that classical Western music education?
Yeah, and this is the weird thing, actually. If you want to study violin or any so-called Western instrument, in Damascus Conservatory, you have only one choice, which is the classical music, or like European classical music. And so I had to study for 8 or 9 months with one of the teachers as a preparatory student in order to go to the conservatory, which I did in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at which point did you come to the Netherlands?
So after 1 year in the conservatory, I moved to the Netherlands.
To study in Rotterdam or at Codarts? Yeah.
There was also a switch there. I did 1 year in the European studies at the Haagse Hogeschool because of also some other interests to do something with research and or like a research study. And after the Propadoza, I wanted to do music. Also, that came with the head of COVID, so everything was
so
very messed up.
It took a while for you to really think, I want to become a musician. I want to play the violin. Yeah. And now you do.
Yes. Now I am a musician and a musician only.
A musician and a musician only. That's nice. Yeah. And the repertoire you played here tonight: Arabic, Ottoman, Greek. Tell me about it. What kind of repertoire, what kind of tradition is that?
So it's all actually rooted in maqam music.
Maqam.
Yeah, or maqam in Arabic and Persian.
And what is
Iranian.
maqam?
Maqam as a word, or like the general meaning for it, is a position or a place, but like a special one. So if you come to my place, it is a place. But if you go to a king's place or to a sultan place, that's a maqam.
Uh-huh.
That's a higher maqam.
It's a very special, higher type of place to be.
Yeah. And so that's the general. But the concept of maqam in music, it meant to be, if I may say, this sort of respect or hierarchy or monarchy to one note among the others. So it also gives this speciality to certain note that should be emphasized as a sultan or as a king among this melodic series.
Really? Is it a type of metaphor?
Yeah.
In music?
I think so. Yeah. Like it's. I mean, we got many lectures about, or like philosophical lectures about what connects the word of maqam to the music. And when playing the music and think about these aspects, it actually does match.
Yeah. Now you brought your violin. Could you let us hear an example of the music you play of maqam?
Yeah. So one of the basic aspects or main aspects of maqam music is improvisation, or like taqsim, as we call it. Taqsim. And it's totally melodic taqsim. So I'm gonna improvise a little.
Okay. Wonderful, Anan.
Thank you.
In my ears it sounds very melancholic.
Very?
Melancholic.
Probably.
And there are all kinds of intervals which you do not find in Western classical music. It's in between, Yeah. And this was maqam type of improvisation.
Exactly. This is purely maqam improvisation, which, as you said, based on microtonal intervallic structure. Yeah. And it was based on mainly maqam Hijaz. Yeah.
Now, the funny thing is perhaps that you studied this music in Rotterdam. How come?
Well, I think it's a huge opportunity and very, very nice that, and I feel that we are lucky here in the Netherlands that we have such school. I mean, Codarts, that has the world music department, which contains many other world music genres. One of them was the Ottoman maqam, which, as I didn't have the opportunity to study that in my country, which is somehow sarcastic to not be able to study your own music in your country. But yeah, I felt so happy to have this opportunity to study it here.
I can imagine, yeah. And for this type of music, do you need a certain type of violin, or can it be any violin that suits you?
Well, in the end, I think a good performer or like a good player can produce any nice sound on any instrument. But of course there are preferences for sound. And most of violin players of this genre tend to like to play on violins that has certain sound character. But of course,
what character?
Like mostly warm and not metallic sound, quite bassy and like steady. Doesn't have to be with too much projection and with a huge
a more warm, modest,
exactly
human character, perhaps.
Yeah, but at the same time,
not showing off.
It's
not
so
brilliance. Yeah, that's funny because in other episodes of this podcast, I've talked to Chantal Baumgart, who plays Latin jazz, Caseco, and to Yannick Hiwat, who composes himself and plays other types of music, and they both said to me what you said right now is that non-Western music tends to have a warmer, deeper sound character than typically classical Western music. Can you confirm that? Yeah,
I do actually, and I tried also playing on Baroque instruments, and I tend to like to prefer playing on like purely Baroque instruments than playing on modern classical instruments, or like instruments that were built to be played in the genre of European
because
classical.
the gut strings, for example, of a Baroque instrument produce a warmer sound.
Exactly.
When played well.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. But you do not really need another type of violin. It's just trying and looking for a sound characteristic.
I think that's the way.
Yeah.
I don't think it's about the type of the instrument, but more about the character.
Yeah. And what instrument do you have?
Well, I have a very humble one.
It's a very humble one, yeah.
Yeah, it's a German handmade, but the maker is unknown.
Yeah.
I bought it back in Syria. It's actually the first instrument I bought by my own money after graduating from the high school.
And you're still playing it and studying on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the only violin you have.
Me, so that's the only special thing about it.
Yeah.
That it survived with me. So.
Yeah, so it must be very dear to you. This is
absolutely
lots of memories and yeah. And do you think there can come a moment that you want to proceed to grow further with another violin?
For sure. I'm actually considering that at the moment, as I'm also studying at Codarts classical music. So I'm actually a split student at Codarts, which is a special situation.
You do both traditions, the Western classical and
And
the Arabic,
Ottoman
Greek.
violin, as well as jazz composition.
Jazz composition. Yeah.
So just to go back to the instrument. So I feel that I need an instrument that can function in both genres.
So that you don't have to use different instrument each time, but can
or probably an instrument that can also give me some nicer some nicer character in the Ottoman music as well.
And then you must know that there exists a Nederlands Vioolconcours.
I just got to know when I got invited to this.
You just found out?
Yeah.
I've spoken for this podcast to a lot of musicians, violin players, young people also, who had a telephone call or sent an email, and these people are here right now at the Nacht van de Viool. So
very nice.
I think you should try to contact them because they have loads of instruments and they can really help you. And they are also interested in other traditions of music. So I think I'm a matchmaker.
Nice.
It was very nice having you here, Anan. Thank you very much. Bedankt voor het luisteren. En luister vooral ook naar de andere afleveringen van Fiddle Talks.